Hi, Yulia. Hi, Artem. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. Thank you very much for joining us. It's so great to open the second day together. So, before we proceed, please introduce yourself, tell about your background, everything you believe is necessary, and we will give a round of fires for you. Thank you very much. It's indeed a nice morning. Well, it's hard for me sometimes to work in the morning, but still, today is a very pleasant morning for me. I'm happy to be here with you today. As for my background and my experience, I can tell you the following. My name is Yulia. I am HR generalist in Timepad. My previous background is in HR. I've worked with Skillbox, Ozon, Kaspersky Lab, with Sber. I had different experience, different positions. So now I work as HR generalist. I have lots of tasks within my my position. I do adaptation, I do the recruiting and everything. So the experience that I have now is indeed wonderful, I believe. I'm a mother of 2 children. I have 2 cats. Well, this is all about me. Everything is so much fun in my life. I have lots of stories to tell. I'm sure you have. Thank you very much. You've joined us notwithstanding all these factors you've just mentioned. And now I would like you to tell more about our joint experience last year. So how you started your way to storytelling, to missions in your company. So can you tell a bit more about your journey? Well, when I work in companies, for me it's always about being useful for the companies. I always want to know the values of a company. I always see if it's a match for me. For me, it's always important. I remember when I finished the university, I was searching for the first position, and it was indeed for me necessary for a company to have the same values. My first company was the IT company, Kaspersky Lab. I've been following it carefully. I've tried to get a position in Kaspersky Lab for 4 times, and only the 4th time was a success. So for me, since the very beginning, since the university, it's always has been important to know the values of a company. I remember how I've was interviewed for Timepad back in 2022, and I remember how they asked me what questions do I have, and I wanted to know the values of the company. And the interviewer said to me that actually this is the task for our new HR specialist to formulate the mission and the values. And I've never have done this before. And I've just said, well, that's a great task to do. I'm really eager to try and do this. And this is how I came to Timepad. We already had some drafts of their values, but they were quite old. They were not really relevant. And this is how we finished up with the stories. We understood that we lack the values in Timepad. And I believe I was recruited because I wanted to do this task. I wanted to work on missions and values, and I understood that it's not so easy to do. Well, before you tell more about the experience of Timepad, I want to know why for you it's important to know that the company has some values. Is it general for the generation, for example? Well, I hope you can hear me loud and clear, because I see some People write in the chat, it's hard to listen. Well, the question was about the values, why it's important for me to know if a company has the values. Well, for me personally, it's important both from the professional perspective, because as an HR specialist, I want to leverage all my future employees using the values of a company. It's indeed important when you know what values does the company have. It's indeed important to know that. Sometimes people don't have enough maybe so-called hardware skills, but if they have some values, have necessary soft skills, that's the better employee sometimes. Besides, for me personally, it's important to work in the company that has the same values as I do, as I have. Employee and the company, they really should match. Work occupies like 80% of our time. This is why nobody wants to be in a place that you hate, that actually so terrible to be, and that has some values that you don't really respect or so. Well, I really like this approach. Thank you very much. It's indeed important to take into account. And now a bit more about our joint work. We've started to work on missions and values through stories. What was your reaction? And what about people in the company? Were they eager to try and do this? Well, initially when I started to work on this project, the mission and values of Timepad, I wanted to find the perfect way to formulate these values and mission. We had the project, the draft of it, that something was done before me, the previous HR team. But I didn't want to capitalize only on this, because it was a bit outdated and the team has changed, and I thought probably all those drafts are not really relevant, and I didn't want know what to do, and I tried to find some ideas on that, how we can do this. I was doing a kind of a research, and I found out that many companies still use the old standard way to formulate the missions, and I believed it was a bit outdated. And then it occurred to me, well, Artem has an interesting approach, and I've contacted you, and I understood it's something new, it's something interesting, something that resonates with me, and it was a kind of experiment. I was a bit afraid of this because I didn't know if it would really work. I thought, well, I would spend some money on this, some budget, but if it would be a failure. So I tried to pitch this idea to my leadership, and it was actually easy to do because I saw very successful cases that you've shown to me, and I've decided that I should fight for this. As for the team, well, at first, their initial reaction was quite adequate. Our leadership is always up to something new. Why not? We always say that we should try. we say, well, if it would be a failure, it's just your responsibility. Well, you would just learn from this. And I was like, okay. But actually, they've supported me, I mean, the leadership. When I worked generally with the team, I decided that I shouldn't work with leadership and top management only. I always had an understanding that mission and the values is not something that is given from above, from top management. I had such an experience. I've listened to such mission and values from the top management at my previous place of work, and it was actually so dull. No one was really following and was interested. So I didn't want to replicate this dull approach. And thus I decided that I need to work with different departments, with different people from different positions, those who, let's say, well experienced in the company, some were quite new to the company, those were about 20 people. And now I give the floor to you, Artem. Well, I would tell a bit about the methodology. Thank you for sharing. It was so great that this idea actually was met with quite an adequate reaction. Thank you very much for sharing this. It's a pleasure for me. Well, what we did together with Timepad, we've started online. There was a Zoom session where there were 3 parts to this session. And the first part, our idea was to make everything, to make it so that everyone would be serious about it. You can probably write in the chat what is usually the approach towards the mission and the values in the company. Do you believe that in all the companies it is treated as something that is important and let's say serious? We wanted to first to show that actually the mission and the values of a company is something that is crucial for its existence. This is what we did during the very first part of our online session. Maybe you've heard some comments, or maybe you had some ideas on this. So what is usually the attitude towards the mission and the values of a company, maybe in your company, or what's the story of your clients? Well, while you're writing in the chat, well, I see some people are writing in the chat, but the mission and the values are not really always appreciated by the leadership, because they believe that the strategy is important and the mission and the values are something that's not important. Larissa writes that sometimes the leadership believes it's so easy to write down. Just you have a good writing style. You just sit down and read and write the mission and the values. So, during the first part of the session, we were talking about the mission. What is actually the mission of a company? Actually, that's a question that is quite stupid. Once I've had a speech on mission and values, and I've just googled one of companies. That was a manufacturing company, and I've googled their mission, and they had on their website the mission was just copy pasted from a bank probably, and no one knew how it happened. I actually screened it. It turned out that um, the standard text that they were using is actually the text that was copy pasted many times by many sites. You see, the same mission, and the companies that use this mission, they are actually very different, ranging from manufacturers to hospitals. You probably can see that if such a large mistake would be in the catalog, then it would be a great issue. It would be corrected really quickly. So this is why we shouldn't just try and ask the question, what is the mission? We need to understand what should the mission help us with. And I've asked the people on the team, what should the mission help you do in your business so that you will say it is worth it. Here you can see the main, some top answers that I've received. For example, create the feeling of involvement in the work you are doing with the team. To help find, attract and retain truly your kind of people. To create a sense of depth and meaning for those who decide to buy the goods and services. So you're not just buying something, you buy something with a deep sense and something that's meaningful. During the second part of our session, we were talking about the questions that the mission should answer to. I will show you a brief part from the session. The compass that you see on the slide is a good metaphor. Sometimes this compass is actually broken by the wallet. So mission sometimes is degraded by the business. What does the business want? Can you rate just one word in the chat? Well, someone has already wrote the money, but the mission is not about the money. The car is riding not for the gasoline, but because of the gasoline. So we use this model of golden rings. Good mission should provide clarity. Company is not only about mission. They need in the company, everyone should understand what people are doing. And sometimes missions are actually answering on this question. For example, we create modern household appliances of international level available to millions of consumers and so on. So it's a good mission, but is it truly a mission? So only the potential of these people working in this team is limited to just creating household appliances. It's quite a risky path because no one is actually limited but what someone is created. The markets, they change. So people, they cannot just people cannot be just diminished to the thing they do now, like creating the household appliances. That's not it. Then the next question, how are we different from other people who are doing the same job or producing the same? This is the example of such a mission. Our mission is to be a reliable partner for our clients, providing them with national services that contribute to sustainable development and economic progress. Well, then there is a text about the 200 years of experience, reliable assets. Well, it sounds a bit more interesting, but it's still not about the mission. It's actually about the value proposition, and it's a huge difference between the value and value and values, value and value proposition. That's from different worlds, so to say. And at the very center, we have the question why. And here it's quite difficult to follow. When you translate it into Russian, you can use two different words. I'll try to explain. So a short introduction to the Russian grammar. So why you can translate by two different words, почему and зачем. You can see that there is the same part in these two words. Basically, this very part that is underlined is a form of word what. So using different affixes, you have two different words. Literally, you can write po, then a space, and the Russian word чему, and literally this means by what? What road have you followed to get here? But if you write za space чем, literally it means what for? What do you want to obtain by getting here? But you can also write the words in like one word. So почему, one of the translations of the word why. This is something about the inner drive. And зачем, the second translation of the word why, this is about the outer drive, something we want to obtain for ourselves. And many missions, they actually are so beautifully structured, but they actually use this second translation of why, зачем, and it's something about the outer drive. For example, to be the company number one in the Russian marketing in the eyes of customers and partners. You see, that's about some outer drive. It's not about the inner idea. I've once had the workshop with this company. This mission was written in bold, and on the second day, I've just asked the team members, does anyone know what is the mission? And only one person knew the mission. How come? Out of 16 person, only one person knows the mission. Actually, this was a lady who wrote this mission, because this mission didn't resonate. So the energy in this mission is actually directed in the outer world, and it doesn't really resonate with the team. For example, another mission of the same kind, to strengthen and maintain the company's leading position in the market in relation to both local and international brands. It is also about the outer drive. We see that the energy is going in the wrong direction. We as people, we always define ourselves in connection with other people. We cannot only talk about what we want to obtain for our company, because it's not about people. Another type of why is more relevant. For example, the mission from Sberbank. We give people confidence and reliability, make their lives better by helping them realize their aspirations and dreams. Here is a good example of a mission. Write an exclamation mark or a fire if you can do so many missions, like the tones of such missions within an hour or maybe 20 minutes, because they are very, very standard. Actually, they don't sound true and sincere, because it's all about emotion, about emotion. It should really move you when you read the mission. So we need to get even deeper. So after showing this model, we've asked the team members of Timepad 2 questions. Probably you can guess, but as for now, I'll show you the part of training of our workshop where one participant shares the story. Her name is Ksyusha. The video will be subtitled, so you can easily follow it.
Ксюшу номинирую.
Ксюша, ты номинируешься?
Поддерживаю.
Так, рассказать еще раз эту историю. Я
Да.
уже не смогу так красиво.
Да.
Ну, давайте. Это было начало моей работы в компании. Это был 18-й год. Я тогда только-только пришла в саппорт, и меня вот только вывели на работу с участниками на звонках. Мы тогда работали в офисе, у нас было всего 6 рабочих мест, то есть прям совсем маленький отдел. Я очень переживала и стрессовала из-за выхода на звонки, потому что это было моим слабым местом, и я не очень любила устно решать какие-то вопросы, разговаривать с людьми. Вот, поэтому вот сидела, отвечала на звоночки, очень переживала. И в какой-то момент звонит очень милая бабуля, рассказывает, что она нашла на нашем сайте событие, и что ей очень хотелось бы на него попасть. Но она при этом не видит каких-то способов оплаты наличными, и в описании события тоже не написано, что туда можно попасть, вот оплатив на месте. При этом она говорит, что у нее есть карточка, но она ни разу ей не платила в интернете. И вот у нее была вот эта вот искорка «давайте попробуем». Ну, делать нечего, я начинаю ей объяснять, как пользоваться карточкой. Мы с ней прям за ручку прошлись по процессам, прошлись по тому, как заполнять все поля, где какие циферки нужно написать, какой код ей должен прийти в смс-ке. В итоге, после вот действительно такого долгого объяснения пошагового, у нее все получается. Она оплатила билет, она очень обрадовалась этому и долго благодарила. И вот в процессе этих благодарностей она говорит фразу так удивленно, восхищенно: это что, я теперь в интернете могу покупать билеты там в театр, на разные события? То есть у бабули действительно вот было открытие таких новых горизонтов, новых возможностей, то, что теперь она может не стоять там около кассы и не ходить куда-то спрашивать, а есть ли билеты, а на какие события, а вот находить в интернете, сразу выбирать нужные ей места и оплачивать карточкой. Вот.
Спасибо. Шикарно. Очень круто, Ксюша.
So we've gathered and collected a kind of a lot of story. First, the team members, they were working in small groups, and then they were to nominate one person, one storyteller who motivated everyone in that small group. It was indeed important. The second part, we've gathered stories, and then we formulated the mission. That was actually a nice consequence of all these stories. So we see the the phrase, we support your passions to unlock potential and new opportunities. You see how this phrase correlates with the story told by Ksusha. I believe you probably all see this. People already are putting fires in the chat. Well, actually, this phrase is relevant and understandable for many people. There also is a print screen from the feedback by one of our customers where the customer says that actually the company gives new opportunities. So you see how it correlates with the mission. It was so nice to see. Yes, indeed, we also were happy to see this. This is the feedback from our clients, so it's not within the company. We look at the feedback on Yandex or many other resources. So it was so nice to us to see. It was a really wow effect because our mission was really ideal. When people know this answer to the main question, where and when have you felt that the work you do brings joy to others and has meaning? When people do this jointly, when people gather around the fire and find the mission together by telling the stories, when you know the answer to this question, you understand why you do what you do. Just as Ksusha does. When a person knows then this crucial question, then you can have a better understanding what you do, how you can be different, what values the company should have that would support the mission. So the light always comes from the inside, from the very depth. Do you believe that a person who knows why something is important wouldn't find some reasons not to do it, but would find the possibilities to do so? Those the ideas of Goethe, Nietzsche, and Frankl, does it resonate with you? Do you also agree with this idea? So here are the questions that we used. You probably can do the photo of this slide. We would talk a bit more about the results of the project, but you can use then later those questions later and do some kind of a training. Simons, in his book, and this is my comments to the comment in the chat, he doesn't do the difference in different types of why and where and then. So it's just the grammatical difference. For example, in English, the storytelling, you see, the story is in the first place. In English, when this is in English, in Russian, it will be all different. This is why I prefer the English term, and I use it in Russian a lot. In the next part of our session, we were talking about the feedback and the reaction to these stories, and it is carefully curated by me. Moderate this, because otherwise people just say, well, it was a good story, and they don't share a lot. I ask them to use the following example that you can see on the slide. Otherwise, they cannot really define the meaning, the sense of a story. And such nice, meaningful feedback is indeed useful. We used the formula by Aristotle. We used the idea of Vakare, the intersection of unique human talents and the needs of the world. We can literally translate it as vocation. We have our own intersection of unique human talents and the needs of the world. So at this intersection, we can understand the mission that really works for the company. And then you have a kind of a light shape, is a kind of a living mission, is a light shape. This is the a kind of a lighthouse that moves. So actually, mission always follow in the company wherever the company goes. It's a kind of a guiding star. The mission is something you probably cannot fully accomplish, but something that always casts the light on everything you do. And now several questions to Yulia. Yulia, can you tell more about the reaction of the team afterwards? The emotionally, maybe, first of all. What was the emotional reaction? Well, thanks. Well, first we worked on values. No, we started with mission and then we came to the values. First, for the team, it was indeed a surprise. Well, we really, it was possible to do so altogether, yes. And it was well appreciated that all of the values, they were actually linked to the stories. For example, the story told by Ksusha is indeed very popular still. It resonated with everyone in the company, and we had lots of cool stories as well. And for people now in the company, it's easy to define what the values mean. And we always quote Ksusha's story, or they find some other stories to support the value. And they were actually very inspired by the session. It was interesting, and it was a joy for them to share with the rest of the team. Many people were eager to know what are the finalized versions of the mission and the value. Well, they really appreciated it. Well, about the methodology a bit. The mission is something that tells us why it's important for us to work in this company. And the values, they show how we can actually act on the company when we are ready to do our best. For example, when you are fit and ready, you are ready in this company to support your clients, even if it takes hours and hours. So actually, the values, they show the way we act and react when we are in our top form. And Yulia, can you tell a bit more about the way you shared the values with the team, how you use it? Can you hear me good? Okay, because there are some noises coming from the street. Well, how we shared the information with our team members. We decided that it would be just useless to say, hey, here are our values and our mission. It's totally outdated and quite stupid. We've consulted you, we've talked with people who had experience in this. So this is why we decided to actually let's say, broadcast those values through the stories. All the employees who were part of this online session, we've selected 4 people. Top management, we were not presenting the stories, the values. We wanted to be the participants, the listeners. We wanted to have the values and the mission shared by people who occupy in a very different positions. For example, there was a lady from the support team, a guy from the business development team, our quality as team also shared the story. We've worked with them, we've prepared the presentation, we prepared the stories. We wanted to have proper meeting with our employees. It wasn't going to be very official. We wanted to have it nice and cozy. This is why we rehearsed. Every story was linked to a next story. We were not introducing each other. We've tried to make it very vivid, but we've rehearsed. We had the keywords that were kind of a signals to our participants. They were reacting and saying, yes, I also remember the story. So we shared 4 values and 4 stories. And I was doing a kind of a conclusion at the end and then presenting the mission through a story. We had a presentation for about like 20-25 minutes. We've recorded the video, and now for our new employees, we show this video so that all the new people in the company, they would understand what we are about. We had a nice presentation with photos of our team. It was so nice. So cozy. It was an online event, but we tried to make it so nice. We were all in the corporate sweatshirts. We wanted everyone to feel that we are one team, we are together. We are all in different parts of the world, in Argentina, in Spain, throughout the world. Where are the Timepad employees? But through stories, through our presentation, we showed the values and the mission of the company. Well, I also have one more question for you. You've said that those stories are still shared in the team. So values and missions, they shouldn't just exist, they should work. Do you use the mission and the values in your day-to-day routine in the company? There was a comment on this, that sometimes the mission is only used for kind of a marketing, and actually everything works not in accordance with the mission. I was kind of afraid of this. So for us, it's indeed important to fulfill the mission within the company, and only when to use it for the outer world. So for us, we still use the values and the mission during the recruiting process, during the interviews. We want to leverage our potential employees. Also, we use the values and the mission during some difficult periods in the company. Just recently, we had a kind of a depression in the company, and we were actually fought on the values and the way we can apply them. Every month we have a kind of a briefing, and now every briefing, monthly briefing, we start with a story that actually support some of values, or maybe just one value, and we usually choose the value that's needed right now to our company. So we foster our values, and we always try to analyze how the particular value can help the team right now. Sometimes we just talk to each other, and someone can just share a story, and it just clicks. Well, it's actually about our value, the value that we formulated ourselves. And I always remind people about this, and this is something that actually works. We have our Telegram channel, and even where sometimes we see how marketing, they actually probably sometimes unconsciously spread our values. They do it so subtly, and it's very nice. Our company is all about hobbies, about entertainment. We want to work with our audience more, and we want to show to our clients that we are not only about selling tickets. We want to show that we help the organizers do something meaningful and fulfill their dreams. Just recently, we had a focus group with our organizers, and we see that all organizers, they do nice events and festivals and so on, and we asked them why. And in 80% of cases, people just said that is their hobby. So for majority of people who work through us, they actually have other jobs. This is their hobby. They want to organize events. And now we tried to show this to our clients, that our company is about hobbies, about fulfilling your dreams. And it resonates with us. So many people in our company, they have different hobbies themselves. So this is why it really resonates with them the day we present our company. That's indeed great. There are many nice comments. Everything, for example, Irina writes that everything is so nicely organized in your company. Yeah, I also like this a lot. As a person related to methodology, I would really like to highlight that it's really great that in your day-to-day work, you try to be aware of the values in your routine, because the values are actually there. It's not that we came and just told you what are the values. No, those values were there already, but they were not just put into words sometimes. I would like to add the following. During the adaptation, we have this video with our presentation. And it's indeed important for us to talk with every new person in the company. We always ask people about their hobbies, about their values and how they match. We are now working on the gamification of our FAQ, And even now, at the present time, when I'm working on this difficult project, I'm always thinking about the values, and it actually makes it easier. So actually now we can use the values throughout our work, and everyone wants to do so because those are the values that were born in the company. Thank you very much for your comments. It's indeed important that we shouldn't really implement the values. I'm sometimes asked how to introduce the values, and I'm sometimes asked how I manage to organize such a large conference with those from the unfriendly countries. And I always say that probably the success starts with the fact that I don't call those countries unfriendly. And I mean by this example that you just shouldn't implement and introduce values. You should just find them in your company. Well, without using the word storytelling and using my name, can you give an advice to a person who wants also to define a mission in a company? Well, first of all, you should understand why you need the mission. If you know why, if you know how you can implement it in the company, when it's the beginning, you should always understand why you do certain things, why you work in a certain company, and so on. And then you should look at different possibilities for you, because all the companies are different, and you should understand if it's really necessary. You surely need to discuss it with the leadership, with the top management, and you would need to have the reasons why it's important to have a mission. For me, it was easy, but in some companies, sometimes it's hard to show to the leadership that the mission is not about money, it's about people, it's about something that helps in the stormy seas, a kind of a light ship. So you need to question why when you need to talk to the top management. And the third thing, you need to look at different options, because probably you shouldn't necessarily work with storytelling. There are some options as well. I like to tell stories myself. Something funny, something stupid probably, but if the company is not really ready, if they don't have a kind of a storytelling culture within the company, so probably you should bring someone to the company, some kind of a counselor, or you should just probably follow some old ways. I've selected the storytelling because it was one of the variants I've came across, and it was immediately the way that I wanted to follow. You need to understand what is better for your company. You understand it better than any other person from the outside. Thank you very much. That's indeed valuable. Let's give the fires to Yulia. Thank you for joining us and opening the second day of the conference. Hope you can stay with us. And now we proceed with the second day. Thank you very much. I wish you fruitful day and a successful conference. Thank you very much. Thank you, Yulia.